Want to embellish the little bunnies you made last week? Stay tuned to find out how. Hey, it's Pam from Ben McFuzzyLugs again, back with another Thursday's needle felting tutorial. Thank you for joining me again. If you're interested in tutorials like these, please hit like and subscribe below. So I just want to say, before we get started, the results are in from my poll of which animal you want me to do a more in-depth tutorial on, and the winner is my dragon. So I will be working on a tutorial to make a guy like him. This is going to be quite an in-depth project. The full wire armature takes quite a while, and I want to make sure that I get a good project, sorting out camera angles and everything, so you get to see every little thing I'm making a guy like him. Obviously it's not going to be identical to him because it's needle felting and no two things are identical, but stay tuned, and sometime soon I will hopefully start throwing out videos for that. Thank you all whoever voted. Sorry if your favourite didn't win. Hopefully at some point in the near future I will have time to make a tutorial for your favourite. And one final thing before I get started, I just wanted to remind any of you who are running a shop on Etsy. On Mondays I have my Etsy tips, help with your search engine optimization, and for the month of April I'm running a challenge, little things that we can all do through the month to hopefully improve our shops. So if you check out my playlists for that and hopefully get involved, and come back every Monday for Etsy tips and every Thursday for needle felting. So today's video, as you saw at the start, is how to embellish our little bunnies to make them even cuter. So if you haven't already, have a look at my tutorial on how to make these plain bunnies, and this one we're going to show you how to shade in the ears. You can also look back on the bunny ear tutorial and you'll see how I do that with chalks as well. We're also going to show you how to do the shading for the eyes, which at this scale is quite fiddly but well worth it. As you can see, it's quite cute. Show you how to add a fuzzy bunny tail and his little snuffly nose. So let's get started. Okay, so if you've got your bunny from last week, we're going to do a bit of work just to embellish him and make him look a little bit better. You can leave him as is. I think they're quite adorable in this kind of less detail way, but it's always good to practice just getting little bits of extra detail. It improves your skills. So we're going to start with making a different colour on the inside of the ears. So depends on the colour of the bunny that you've got. The pink bunnies, like we did in the white bunnies, like we did in the bunny ear tutorial, they can be cute with pink centres. Grey, we're just going to do some white. So just take a little pinch of white. Try and get 2 even amounts, and we're just going to now be really careful not to felt too far through because that'll give you white spots on the other side, but just trying to add this white just inside the ear, giving a little rim of grey. So as you can see, I'm just picking up the loose fibres and folding them in and just felting them into the area I want them to be, so that there's the edge of grey left over and just the white in the centre. And my needle is at quite a shallow angle to make sure I'm not felting right through and out the other side of the ear. Just picking up all the fibres that have gone onto his head because we don't really want that, and felting this in. Now with any of these embellishments you can make as few or as little as you want until the bunny looks the way that you find that you're the happiest with. So if you're happy just to add the different colour in his ears and stop, that's cool. If you want to add more of the different embellishments, then again it's your bunny. And a bunny really needs a fluffy tail. So what we're going to do, in the colour of whatever fibre you've used for the back end of the rabbit, we're just going to take a small piece, so it's grey in this case, and I'm going to, that's probably way too much, isn't it, half of that. I'm going to fold this into a triangle shape, so fold the ends into a triangle and fold the bottom up, and as we felt, we're going to felt these ends down a little more. Again, you could do this on a felting surface, the second way we made the bunny ears in the bunny ear tutorial, but I find it quicker just to do it between my fingers, keeping the needle sliding between my fingers, obviously trying not to stab myself. And once that's fairly firm, we're just going to tack that on to the highest point of the bum, felting down through the tail and into the bunny to get it felted nice and firmly. And then we're going to take a largish piece of fluff, and then don't roll it, just kind of squish it into size, and we're going to tack that over the back of this tail piece that we've just made. And we're wanting to felt it in so it holds its shape, but it's still kind of fluffy. And there he has a fluffy tail. Now we're going to work on the eyes. So what we're going to want for this, for each eye, we're going to have a small pinch of white that we're going to loosely roll into a ball. We want it still quite fluffy. Because this is going to blend out. This is just the surrounds of the eye. Try and make them as even as possible. And then we're going to need 2 tiny bits of white as well, and that's going to be the glint in the eye. Again, try and get them of an even size. And we're going to need 2 pinches of black that are going to be the size of the eye that we want. So just pinch off, try and get 2 even bits. I'm going to roll them into a much neater ball than we did with the white. And smooth it off. So just roll in between my fingers to get around, and then for the last second just backwards and forwards for it to be slightly oval shaped, slightly eye shaped. And we're going to have 2 smaller bits of black just rolled into a ball to be his pupils. Now this is quite small and fiddly. These have to be slightly bigger than the white glints for the middle of his eye. What I do sometimes if I'm struggling to get things quite the same size as each other, make 3 or 4 and then pick the best ones. And then we're also going to come in with a little bit of brown and try and make almost exactly the same size as the black. It's just going to be just one tiny bit of the black peeking through the brown. So again, into a ball, rolling round and round, and then backwards and forwards at the last second to make a kind of eye shape. Round and round, backwards and forwards, and there's a kind of eye shape. So rabbits' eyes are quite on the side of their head, so we're taking the white first of all, and this, as I say, it's the surroundings of the eye. So we're going to felt this, and don't try and tuck in the edges too much. Don't be aiming to make a crisp line like we did on the ears. Let the edges sort sort of fade out a little bit. So it blends into the grey a bit. You could also at this stage, if you wanted, use a reverse felting needle to pull some of the grey through, or felt along the edge of the piece just to blend these bits in a wee bit. And this is the tricky bit, to try and get it matching on the other side. So what I'm doing, I'm just keep looking from the top down so it kind of covers the same height, looking at either side, just so I get a bit of an idea that it's kind of similar. They're never going to be identical. I'm really terrible at getting them that similar. And when I'm trying to shape it, I'm trying to think of making the front towards the nose become slightly more pointed. Okay, that's not quite as blended here, so as I said, I'm just going to run the needle, and you can see that's dragging some fibres out into the grey, and then bringing some grey into the white and felting it in. This can just help smooth out harsh edges when I'm wanting something just a little more blended. Okay. Now these are slightly different sizes, but it'll work for what I'm trying to show you. Spend a bit more time if needs be. Right, now what I want for the eye, I would like it to have a little more of a point at the front. So I'm just rolling one edge between my fingers to get it slightly pointed at the front. And popping this in. And this time we are trying to felt a harsh edge. We don't want the fibres to go out with the edges, the line. It's a black solid line around the eyes. I'm trying to think of this point at the front. And a rounded eye. Exactly the same with the second one. Now this is slightly fiddly, so if you wanted to practice first of all making a slightly larger bunny and trying this, but I find it's really good from my experience to practice felting as small as you can, let yourself get some really good detail felting small, and then when you come back to making larger sculptures, then you've really got the hang of getting detail. Now we're going to want to do exactly the same almost with the brown, except we want this to be round, the eyes round. Sorry, I said to roll it to make an oval, but we want it kind of round. And we're just going to want to felt so that the brown just finishes a tiny fraction before the black, so we've got a little bit of black poking through. And you can think slightly of a dome shape. You can see that's slightly proud. I will be felting it more in as we go along. You can just see there's a tiny rim of black there. And the same with the second one. And the more you felt this, the more it will felt down and be less sticking up than it is. And then we're going to take our smaller ball of black. This just looks best if we can try and put it mainly in the centre of the eye. And you're leaving plenty of brown. And the second side. And then the most important bit's your glint of white. With both of them I'm going to have it towards the top and heading towards the ear. slightly in the black, slightly in the pupil, and slightly on the brown, but not going so far as the black rim. The glint of light is just in the eye. And try and keep it circular if you can. It's so tiny that it might be difficult. And keep working round the eye as well to keep it in a domed shape, or working towards being flat, but be careful it doesn't take on any strange different shape. Sometimes it can get a bit conical if you keep felting in the wrong place. I don't know if that's going to focus. Yeah, you can see we've got the white and then the rim of black, brown, black and white again. And with the second eye, the same thing at the top, towards the ear, partly in the black, partly in the brown. We're just going to felt that in. Keep them felting all over the eye. Trying to keep all the stray fibres, all the stray white fibres only in the white glint. It's going to be messy if you've got fibres all over the place. Alright, so that's the eyes. Again, keep felting them as much as is needed. And now we're just going to add a small nose to finish off our bunny as he is. Bunnies just tend to have a small nose flap. So what we're going to do is just pick a small bit of black and twist it off to make a thread, roll it backwards and forwards between my fingers and tuck in the ends to make it into a nice uniform width, or roughly. And we're just going to pop it onto the nose, onto the end of the bunny, felt into the centre of it. Looks like he's got a bit of a daft moustache, and then felt up, so you're just making a V. And there we have it. Our bunny now has a lot more detail. Eyes, tail, shading in the ears and his little nose. You can do as much or as little work as I said. If we have a look, I don't know if he'll fit on camera, but my larger bunny, try and focus on him, his nose, he's got the little V flap and then white cheeks and his little mouth on a much larger scale. But you can see how it's similar what I've done, the white shading and then the black. Because there's more room here, there's also a little glint of white directly opposite the glint in his eye. But on your wee guy, there's not really room for that. If you struggle on this scale with the wee glint of white, you can also add a small drop of acrylic or oil paints just on a tiny brush or a toothpick, just dotted onto that just to make it a bit easier. But it is just possible at this scale to get the white in and needle felt it. We could also add 2 little balls of grey to make his front paws if we wanted. Keep going for as long as you want. The fantastic thing with needle felting is if you're not happy with it, you're not done. Just keep going until you're happy with it. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. As always, if you make something from my tutorials, please share them with me. I would love to see them. Please comment, like and subscribe, and come back every Thursday for more videos. Thank you very much.